my husband said coldly. "You'll be fine going to the hospital by yourself." I replied, "Your life will become a nightmare, I swear." My name is Emma, and I am currently 9 months pregnant. This is my first time delivering a baby. Thus, despite my anxiety, I am also incredibly grateful that a new life will soon become a part of our family. My husband Jack, who works in finance, has weekend off, but he rarely assists with cleaning or shopping. The main reason for this is that he often spends weekends visiting his parents. Since their home is close by, Jack spends almost every weekend there for no obvious reason. He and his family have a positive bond. Since I became pregnant, I've been careful not to carry heavy items for my daily activities, especially when buying things like bags of flour, knowing that friends often help. I usually start my day early, making breakfast for Jack before he departs for work. After that, I clean the house, do the laundry, and go shopping if needed. When I get back, I start preparing dinner. I have to finish these things before I can unwind after taking a leave of absence. I began to write blogs. Every day, I add pictures of things like dinners, sunny days, and flowers in the garden to my journal. Many of my friends leave comments, and I've made it a regular ritual to enjoy this small pleasure. One evening, my husband arrived home as usual while I was preparing dinner. The jacket and bag he threw on the couch were picked up and hung on the coat rack. "Welcome back, Jack." The supper was spaghetti that I made. "I'm taking a shower," he said, and proceeded directly to the bathroom. In the 3 years that we have been married, I have seldom ever witnessed him be thoughtful or kind. Even though I've accepted it, I sometimes wonder if this is marriage. When he returned, Jack was still in his pajamas. I handed him a glass of juice. "Where's the beer?" he asked, glancing at the bar. "I'm sorry. I didn't remember buying it today. I'll get some tomorrow." "Proceed to the store now." His tone changed instantly and his voice grew aggressive. I was annoyed. Why did he ask his expectant wife to do this? If you're so in need of it, why don't you just acquire it yourself? My big belly makes it difficult for me to move around. That's when he got increasingly angrier and started shouting, "You forgot to buy it. You are not entitled to preferential treatment because you are pregnant." My mother always says it's important to stay active during pregnancy. Knowing he doesn't calm down easily. When mad, I reluctantly decided to go to the store. When I arrived, I met Hannah, my neighbor. "Hannah, oh, good evening." Emma failed to buy anything. Indeed, I ran out of sauce. I felt somewhat better after hearing Hannah's cheerful voice. Jack was hankering after beer, so I had to come get it for him. Why didn't he come himself? He didn't listen to me when I tried to tell him that. "It sounds like you're having trouble, Emma, after taking a walk together for a while." Hannah and I said our goodbyes at the corner. Once I got home, Jack was sitting on the couch, watching TV without even cleaning up after dinner. "What caused you to take so long? What were you playing around for?" "Pour me a beer." I quietly handed Jack the drink and began cleaning the kitchen despite his harsh comments. Especially since I'm pregnant, how could he say such things? Even though I wanted to argue, I held back since I knew it would just lead to further conflicts. I had dinner, had a bath, and then went to bed. The next morning, Jack acted as if nothing had occurred. Even if it seems like he forgets things after sleeping, I couldn't help but remember his nasty remarks. I deliberately ignored him. What kind of attitude is it? Please don't be upset with me. I'm heading to work, so try to be a little more considerate. You understand the value of gratitude. Instead of shouting at him to apply that to himself, I sighed deeply. Be careful, I want to eat tonight. See you. Without giving any further background, Jack left. I did my usual chores and went shopping. I will not be at home for supper, Jack declared. I made a straightforward dinner for myself, but that was just before my meal. I found out about Jack's unexpected return. I ran to the exit. "I'm returning because you said you wouldn't need dinner, but things didn't go as planned. I'm going hungry." Have you eaten anything? I only made enough for me, today. Jack's face twisted in anger. Didn't you even expect me to come back? This isn't feasible. His countenance furrowed when he noticed the food at the dining table. What was the purpose of this? I wonder if you're even fulfilling your duties as a wife. Do not waste my hard-earned cash. I quickly made him something to try to keep him from getting even more angry. You may learn how to cook from my mom. Again, the comparisons to his mother draw attention to the flaws in your cooking. Does he not realize how hurtful those statements are? I can't eat this, so go get anything. My heart sank even more deeply. I'm already ready for bed. Do you have trouble forgetting it? You don't forget the beer before making dinner. It irritates me. I'm going to my parents' place. He stormed out of the house alone. I felt a strange sense of relaxation. The morning after, I was reprimanded by his mother over the phone for not serving Jack properly. It's what she called moral harassment. After she ignored my explanation, I apologized. After the call, I felt down. Since Jack wasn't there, I decided to eat breakfast late, but knowing that Jack would be back made me more nervous. I decided to prepare a delicious dinner and purchase his favorite beer. Time to cook my blog was shortened. The table was beautifully set up, as though it were for a special occasion. This should suffice for him. He never showed up, despite my waiting. When I called, no one answered. An hour passed. Then 2. Finally, he came back drunk. I'm back at home. Rushing to the exit. When I got there, Jack was on the ground. What happened? Are you comfortable making too much noise? Get out. He spat. I tried to help, but he shoved me away. Don't touch me, you're too ugly to be my wife. Those were terrible words. Did he no longer think of me as a family member? I had worked so hard for nothing that tears welled up in my eyes. I ate by myself since I was so lonely. The next morning, Jack acted as though nothing was wrong. I'm suffering from a headache. Why did you leave me on the ground? You laid there by yourself, therefore, it's not my fault. Are you not taking care of me, my wife? Why does he always put the blame on me? At least tell me you weren't eating at home. I made a delicious dinner and called multiple times. Why didn't you reply? My celebration date was rescheduled. Do I have to disclose everything? With every syllable, my heart got colder. These days, being around you is so dull and miserable. Divorce started to seem like a possibility. Despite my knowledge of labor pains, I'm more thrilled than worried about the impending arrival of our babies. Neighbors say that it's only a bit longer. One day, Jack had an idea. I want to go on a family holiday. I have to admit that my folks surprised me. When I discovered why I was going to give birth, I was shocked. You are not always sick just because you were pregnant. His parents had extended an invitation to us. I couldn't talk, but if something happens, it will be okay. Everything is prepared. He left in a desperate mood, as you know, so I had to be finished by the time we go out for 2 nights next week. My friend agreed that it was excessive when I asked him for advice. But then the trip day arrived. In actuality, I'm not sleeping well in the car. You'll be okay. We loaded the car. Is this appropriate? I could feel the warmth of my feet. My water broke, Jack. Maybe my water broke. Take me over to the hospital. Jack looked wide-eyed. You mean it? Yes, at this very moment. While I was trying to clean up, he opened the door suddenly. What are you doing? Get out. You will cause harm to the car. Startled, I begged him not to, but he slapped me and pulled me out. This is not possible. We were traveling alone, going to the hospital. When he drove off, I was overcome. An ambulance was called when Hannah approached Emma. Are you all right? When she saw my condition, she made arrangements for a private taxi to reassure me. My eyes filled with tears of thankfulness. She made sure I got there safely. On the way, silently, I pledged, I'll make him answerable. Even as labor became more challenging, Hannah was holding my hand. When she called my parents, they arrived soon after, looking quite worried, and said, I want to talk about something. Hannah whispered, and they left the room. My unease grew when my phone vibrated. Who is it? In answer, my parents scowled. It's Jack. I picked up the phone to help myself. However, I was unable to communicate, so I hung up. Even after my parents switched off my phone, he kept sending messages. Eventually, at last, my baby cried out in exhaustion. When I saw my parents and Hannah smiling adoringly, I closed my eyes and went to sleep. When I woke up, my parents were beside me. Are you okay? My mother asked. I'm still worn out. I knew Hannah was gone. When I looked at my mother, she said she had left earlier. Thank you. I vowed to thank her once I was free, and I looked at my phone. Jack missed countless calls, but I gave up. I told a friend what had happened when he came over. Startled, she declared that he ought to be disciplined. Later, my parents asked, What's your plan? I told them that I was considering a divorce. They supported me. After the release, I stayed at my parents' place. The hospital staff refused Jack's entry when he arrived to visit. The day after, Hannah showed up carrying a fruit basket. You seem better, but don't overdo it. Thank you for everything thus far. I expressed my gratitude. Hannah laughed. What matters is you. The baby is healthy as well. I bowed deeply. I will be over soon to thank you. When my husband got angry, Hannah giggled. I'm sorry I got you involved in this mess. My words were, don't worry, Yelmi. She ridiculed it. Hannah was someone I knew for who she truly was. She was the spouse of Jack's company's chief executive officer. Jack didn't know Hannah had suggested talking to her husband, but I didn't want to disturb her, so I didn't, but this incident made her do something. I was astounded by her encouragement. I was thinking of divorcing Jack, so I ignored his incessant texts. My mind was clear. As I prepared to leave, a friend showed me a viral video. Jack was screaming at me in the car. Details about his business were also made public. At the moment, he is being severely criticized. On the internet. Saying I had a trip scheduled, Jack excused me. His parents received criticism as well. My phone rang. My mother-in-law's response prompted my friend to advise me to chase her. I didn't have Jack's energy calls, though. His father and mother filled my log. Even the hospital personnel saw and came to my aid. I was going to be released. I feared they were outside. My parents told me not to be concerned. However, I continued to worry about the safety of my infant. However, that worry vanished when I was surrounded by black-suited men. The car door was gently opened. Don't worry. Here we are. When she inquired, my parents smiled. Believe that there is nothing to worry about. I got into the car without any problems. Jack and his parents are unable to cope with the strength of the bodyguards. I was so grateful to Hannah. My parents agreed, saying that we should repay her kindness. Even after I started a new chapter, Jack and his family stayed in contact with us. I mailed the divorce papers, but they didn't respond. My in-laws sneered that she shouldn't be complaining because she was family when my father answered their phone one day. When my father answered, they hung up. When we decided to consult a lawyer, he agreed to help. While he talked to Jack. After resisting for a while, my spouse finally gave in. We'll handle it ourselves. The lawyer gave a calm response. This is what Emma requested. Jack ceased his speech. The mention of the court sent him into a panic. I don't care about the kid. No help is needed. My lawyer was trying to explain legalese to Jack, but he didn't understand. He went on to say, We'll see you in court, adding that his parents gave their frantic consent. Startled, I realized how stupid it was to marry him. Hannah laughed at the thought of garnishing his retirement. Her wisdom was amazing. I got a call from my lawyer. Jack wanted to apologize directly. We made the decision to call with the lawyer present. If you're sorry, I'll forgive you. The house is a mess, and it's all your fault, he said calmly. I said, just so you know, it's recorded. Wait a moment. I was joking. Let's start over. I hung up and handed the recording to the lawyer. I asked, can you make use of this? Weeping, he's incorrigible, he said. My parents agreed. Occasionally, I realized I was enjoying myself. The divorce was quickly over. They agreed on child support and property. Thank you to Hannah's husband. Jack was laid off. After coming home unable to pay his loans, he struggled with part-time work. His parents were the focus of gossip and lived in constant fear. Surprisingly, the social backlash seemed to be worse than the legal sanctions. Once everything was settled, I went to Hannah's house with my baby. She and her spouse welcomed us and showered my baby with love. Hannah's son was my age. Our families grew close, and our connection suddenly took off. A few years later, I began to realize that I might end up joining Hannah's family. Life is genuinely unpredictable after all. I had a new sense of purpose after having my child and starting a new life with Hannah's family's support. I felt excitement and hope as I saw my child grow up in a loving, healthy atmosphere. As life took unforeseen turns, I came to see that occasionally endings are actually disguised as fresh starts. It went beyond simply leaving an abusive relationship. It was about rediscovering who I was, discovering my inner power, and building a life that was full of laughter, love, and enduring joy. Life is really unpredictable,